Let's continue on recording or doing our finishing up our details here. So when you cut the details, you might notice some things that need to be adjusted in the plans. So we did these first two details. We mentioned these footings and added some notes. This foundation wall and footing is going to be the same in most of these views, right? So we're not going to reference this each time. What we're going to do is we're going to come up here to this next detail. You can enter the view by double clicking on it or by clicking activate view. And you can get out of view by right clicking and deactivate view. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to view and then view reference. And we're going to add a view reference. And so once you do that, you can pull down here and you can actually add reference that view that we've already done. So that view is detail 2. So all we have to do is pick here detail 2. And now we can place this text which is tied to that view. So what we'll do, just to make sure that it works, or just to show you how it works, so I can rename this 10 and it'll rename that detail 10. It's a good way to be able to actually keep track of your details, and you can move them around and not have to worry. But what we'll do is I'm going to add some text here. I'm going to go up to annotate. Hold on, let me get rid of that cat. So what we'll do is we'll go get into our view, go to annotate, text, and let's just make a text box here, and then we'll just put a note, and then C, and it'll be that detail for additional, or what we'll do for additional. And we'll abbreviate additional. Actually, let's just not abbreviate it. Just type it all out. Additional information. C. And this detail. But what we're going to do now, so because you can see the text size between this detail and what text we're using is different. We're going to modify this typical view reference. So if we select it and then go to edit family, we can edit this detail. And actually, usually what I do is I'll go to my view graphics or visibility graphics, go to annotation, and then turn on the reference lines and reference planes so I can see where the reference lines are. I'm actually going to delete the 1 and the slash by selecting them and hit delete. This labels 1/8 of an inch, and I want to make it the 3/32, the typical text size. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to make this into a group, and then it makes it into a group, and I can grab the center of this group by selecting it. And you can see now that there's a center. Before, you couldn't select the center of this text, so it's a little workaround to get the center of the text. Similar to AutoCAD, where you can, it'll give you a grip at the center and at the 4 corners. Revit doesn't do that, so in my opinion, is kind of a drawback of Revit, but that's okay. Now go up to the Modify tab, hit Move, and now it will pick this center point, and I can move to be centered on these reference planes. I'm going to ungroup this by selecting it and hit this button up here at the top. And actually, I can show you. Sorry, I don't think I showed you how to group it. I mean, we've grouped in the past, but up here in the Modify tab is how to create a group. So you would select whatever items you want in a group, and then hit Group on the Modify tab. And then once it's a group, you can hit the ungroup option will be available. So I'm going to change this text to middle and center. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this label. So I'm going to edit label, and I want it to have the detail number. So I'll select it over here, hit this green arrow to move it over to this side, and I'm going to move it up because I want detail number first. And then the suffix, I'm going to make the /. And so then, here, I'll hit OK, and now it shows you that it's going to do the sheet number / and then the page number. And so if you go to edit label, you can see that those are the two values that were given in here. So when we insert it into a project, it's going to pull the detail number and the sheet number from any details. I'm going to actually do 0 for spaces, and I think that'll tighten that up. Yeah. So what I did here is edit label, and then under spaces, basically I wanted it to say 1/ with no space, and then the detail number. And so then you can see it tightened it up. Now I can load and close. I'm not going to save. I mean, I could save actually to my local families template, or you could actually go to your Revit annotations. What is this called? View reference. And we could save over the view reference that's in the main Revit folder. Yeah, so I thought so. So it's unable to write because it's like kind of saved over those. So if we wanted to save it and be able to load it in later, so we can go up to wherever you're keeping your Revit files that we've created in the past, and just keep it and save it into your local ones, because I don't think they want you to modify the existing ones that are come default. So I'm going to drag the text over so it's all nice and tight. The other thing too, Revit does not have a spell check like AutoCAD. As you can see, it didn't underline any of that text, which it should have. So if you want to check spelling, you select it and then hit check spelling. If you were to be in a detail that has multiple text, it should check so it says Revit's finished spell checking the selection. Do you want to continue checking the remainder of the view? And you hit yes. And here it says GSM, which is galvanized sheet metal. And I'm going to ignore because that's a typical call out. And so the next thing I'm going to do actually here is see this 3/32 text. Let's see. I'm going to change it to this Arial box because I think we created this general notes text in one of the other videos. But if not, you can, if you if you haven't created this text with the box around it, you can undo. You can edit type, duplicate, and then just go Arial boxed. And then check this show border, and then I typically change the offset to like 3/64 so that the border is tighter to the text. And then now you can move this into there, into your text box. Now we can actually select both of these and make this into a group by going to the Modify tab and create a group. Oh, it doesn't let you put in that text. So what I tried to do is make a group with that view text, and it says Revit does not allow grouping of some selected elements. These elements will not be included in the group. And you can click expand, and it tells you this view reference. It's not including it in the group. I'm just going to hit cancel. Basically what I was going to do is create it into a group and then copy, Control C, select it, Control C, and then we can actually go through and paste it into the other views. At least the other views that the same footing applies. I'm going to, as you can see, this one got cut off a little bit, so I'm going to stretch it down by turning on the crop region visible, uncheck the box, and paste this in here again. Revit does some weird stuff sometimes when you're pasting stuff into views, because it's technically it's in a different cut plane, because the views are actually cut from the model. So this cut must have been in a different location possibly, and that's why it tries to put the text weird sometimes, but usually you can fix that relatively easily. I'm going to do the same thing here to this view, and just drag this down, turn off the crop region visible, paste, and it's doing it in this detail again, but that's okay. So if you had this annotation crop on, you won't see the view, so let's turn it on right now. So if I were to go to paste, so something is missing, right? It didn't paste those little numbers, and that's because the crop annotation crop is on. And so if I were to turn that off, then I can see that it's over here. So we'll just move that over here. Now this footing is going to be different. It's going to be similar to this one, but I'm probably going to make the same, probably make the callouts on this one as well. And then this one is different, so we can't say similar. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to actually go back to this detail, because this vapor barrier that we put in this view. So I'm going to double click and select. I'm going to copy both this little dash line and this vapor barrier note. And I'm going to paste it into this view. If anybody who's been in a crawl space knows that it will be, they'll usually have that plastic sheeting along the whole bottom of the ground. And so this is what that represents. And so now we can just copy some of these detailed items into these other views. In this view up here, we can actually copy. If I'm hover over this line, I'm going to hit Tab to select that and the insulation and the insulation up here. I'm going to copy, Control C, paste it into this view. I'm actually going to go up to Modify and see if it'll paste it into the same place. And it does. And that's where our note can apply. Now, so this detail here on mine, I think I've seen others that have, you know, your deck, your joists are on this side, and your deck is on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my framing plan. I'm going to toggle views by going to View, Tile Views. Excuse me. So yeah, this detail 3 is through the deck. I'm going to, so what we want is, so you don't want these deck boards so tight to the house. You want to leave like an inch gap here. So we can actually select the deck in this view. And although the floor isn't shown up in this view, what we can do is still edit a boundary, and it's still going to give us our boundary. So I'm going to offset 1 inch to give it 1 inch gap so that the water can drain into here. And let's see. And in doing that, I'm kind of creating a condition where water can get into this wood joist. So I'm going to have to change up this detail a bit. So I think what I'm going to do, first I'll come over here and just grab this magenta line. You're not going to let me. That's okay. We can open up a different plan. See if it'll let us. Oh, I think I'm not in the view. So I'm going to hit cancel. So I think I need to actually activate this view, and then I can go about selecting this deck, edit boundary, and then I can grab this magenta line, hit move, and 0, 1, and that'll give me an inch gap here, and I don't want to attach. And then the next thing I'm going to do is actually I'm going to, so I want to delete, I want this sill plate and this header to actually stop here. So let's see, so in 2, we kind of have this detail, but at the deck, I want this foundation wall to extend up. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to trim, go to the Modify tab. I'm going to trim, extend single element, and I'm going to grab this sill plate. So I selected this edge of this beam that I added in the other video, and then I trimmed it back here. I'm going to do the same thing with this header joist. So I'm going to trim. So now I've got no header joist there. I'm actually going to take, let's see, I'm going to split this foundation wall. I'm going to come up here to Modify tab and split element. And I'm going to split this foundation wall. I'm going to select the foundation wall and right click on the little dot grip, and say disallow join. And I'm going to trim, extend back to the face of this beam again with this foundation wall, so everything's stopping right there. I'm going to select this side of the foundation wall, right click, and disallow join. Trim, extend to the face of that beam again. So what I'm doing is I'm isolating this foundation wall from this one. So now I'm going to modify this so that this foundation wall, and you can select it in this section and see what it's going to do. I'm going to move it up to the bottom of the wall. So as you're going through, this is some of the things you're going to have to do is kind of go back through and remodify some of the sections as you're going through and detailing. And if you have any questions, just let me know. And oops, I don't want to modify. I want to modify. Yeah, I want to modify the interior plywood, and I'm gonna align. Before I hit align, I'm gonna split this interior floor. Where I split the foundation wall and the sill plate so that I can change the boundary line. So I drew another line there. I'm gonna hit align to that face, trim corner, and so that my foundation wall, my plywood that's going to be on top of the joist will stop at this foundation wall. And I'm actually going to do that all the way around here. everywhere where the deck is. So the worry always is water getting uh, into your system here. And so just here, the plywood will extend out over. So I'm gonna hit. Okay, so it says there's a. Oops, yeah. So I left some of these lines for this bump out. So I'm gonna hit continue so I can delete these lines so I don't need any more. So you can just window over the top of them and come up here to hit this delete. And I'm just going to say don't attach. The floor roof overlaps highlighted walls. Would you like to join geometry? Sure. So now our detail shows the deck in here, and it's stopping at this foundation wall, so the water should drain out through here without getting into our joists. You still want to come in here and grab this flashing that we kind of just drew using detail lines. And we can paste it into this view. So that we can keep this from water getting up there. So on my deck, I'm going to check out the, so let's call out the planks on top and the deck joist, so we can go to the annotate tab and get our text. And then we can just call out deck joist per plan. And for the top, we would just call it out as 2x6 decking. So I mean, potentially you could just use let's just call it as pressure treated. But potentially, I mean, many of you may know that they've got the like kind of fake wood, like more like a resin kind of deck boards. I've got a lot of different deck boards, but we'll just call it as pressure treated decking. I'm going to fix some of these joists framing up, so as you can see, I'm hovering over the if I slowly move my mouse, I can get it to hover over and highlight the beam system. So I'm going to just select that in this view. I'm going to come over into my plan view and edit the boundary of my beam system, which will be similar to what we did for the flooring. I'm going to split this line here so I can trim it. And then I'm going to align. I'm going to have to fix up these delete. So a lot of this work, you kind of get it laid out, and then you have to, when you start detailing, you kind of see some of the issues that you may have, and so you have to go back and modify. Using Revit, it makes it a lot easier because you don't have to relay out joists or go and modify a bunch of CAD elements. Because you're using BIM systems, it's all done automatically as you modify your boundaries. So it makes modifying things much easier. I'm going to reset system since I've changed the profile, and I'm going to reset the joists to make sure that they're doing the right thing now. I've got some of these joists that are sticking through still. There we go. So it just needed a second reset. So if we edit boundary, and I had to reset it again, as you can see, because those joists were still sticking through. And now actually I realize I can delete this. Let's see. So as you can see, it kind of changed some of the way we're gonna have to detail some of these. So, which is good. Basically, if you as an architect, will mark these things up, and you have to make these changes. So it's kind of good to get to understand how to do this now. So I'm going to drag this insulation to the bottom of this joist, and I'm going to put a dimension here on this one. We're going back to that one at the deck. So I'm going to go to annotate, add a dimension, just to say that the 1 inch gap. Oh, so to modify the dimension, you're going to click on the dimension once you've placed it, and then here you have options. You can replace with text, have text above, below, beside, and in front of. But I'm going to put gap below, so that I know that when they're laying out these boards, they'll have a 1 inch gap here. I'm also going to put a joist hanger in here as well. Because they'll have something that hangs this deck joist on the side of this foundation wall. So let's go to detail component. So if you go to annotate and then component, and let's load family. Oops, back too far. So we're in English Imperial Library. Detail items. Let's see. It's got a wood and plastic. So I don't think we want fastenings, I think. Oh yeah, we do. This is where we were for the post hangers. I don't like all of these. There's a beam hanger, which would be close to what we need. So basically it would sit on top of here, but likely it's actually going to bolt into the side, but we can use this one for now. And so you just size it to be the correct one. I'm not sure. So I'm just kind of going through and picking ones until I see that it fits the right size. Not sure. Maybe it'd be 612. So let's edit type and see what it's changing here. So it's using this, which I'm going to guess is a Simpson hanger. So the height is 11 inches, and I believe our so what I did is I put it in. I was just guessing to try to find the correct hanger depth. So here I'm going to move this up a bit. And then I hit edit type. And then so I can change it in here to kind of see what depth. So here's saying what joist size it is. So we want it to be and actually I still don't like this. I feel like because this is a beam hanger, it's not really the right one. It looks close on the side profile. Um, let me do something here. Let's go to Simpson strong ties. And I'm going to go to this Simpson Strong Time Resources, Software and Web Applications, and I'm going to go to Plugins. Yes. I like that. Let's see. Are they going to charge me for it? I don't think they will. Yeah. Stand by. I'm going to download this Simpson Strong Finder because I really want to have the correct hangers and whatnot. Although it's not really important for this exercise, I'm trying to let my type A wanting to actually use the actual structural members. Maybe we'll just get it close enough. Actually, I think to not make it any more complicated for this thing right here. So let's. I'm gonna edit type. Just because I got something in there that looks close, I'm gonna duplicate, and I'm going to call it joist hanger. And I'm going to just make it the correct depth. So they've got these done joists, but they're all bigger. We're using the 2x10. I don't think it necessarily matters, but I'm going to give it a height of 9.25. Got a microphone and a cat in my way. Oh, but see, it's hanging down below. So I'm going to take my dimension, annotate, dimension. It's actually 10 3/4 because we're coming from the top of this wall. And I'm not really concerned because I'm just going to put, this this is just going to be, I'm not going to call it the exact joist. So I think we can just change it to 10 3/4, and so it looks right. Sorry about that. So let's do this again. Just because I was kind of all over the place there. Oops, that's why it's not looking. And so I'm going to call this, I'm going to copy this note down, and joist hanger. And so likely they would bolt this into the footing, or the foundation wall, I mean. And they would do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to select this and hit draw, so mirror. I'm going to pick the middle of this wall. And this joist hanger, so I'm going to rename this. I'm going to edit, type. I'm going to rename to deck, or I'm going to call it at the end so they stay in the same place. Deck, joist hanger at deck. I'm going to edit this one, duplicate, and call it floor, because as you can see the depth is different. So it'll be 10 inches deep. And in reality, this part of it would not be there. They're going to just bolt this into the side. And because this is supposed to, like if you're hanging it off of another beam, and so on, in this condition, really it would just be attached directly to this, they're attached directly to the foundation wall. And in reality, too, this plywood would probably extend. They'd probably maybe notch this into here so that the plywood would extend into the foundation wall. But I'm not sure that they would do that. It seems like a lot of work. I think they'd just be okay with the concrete here at the corners. But if they're putting carpet on top of here, then it would not. They would have to use concrete anchors to anchor sorry, the tile or the carpet down. But actually, even then, I think maybe they would probably just use. Yeah, I think they wouldn't have an issue. They'd put that carpet, the tack strip to keep the carpet down at the edges. They would just keep it there and just use concrete, low velocity fasteners probably to just nail it down in there. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to select this text and add another leader by clicking the plus over here. So there's a joist hanger, pressure treated. So yeah, and so we are going to call out. And I will leave the exterior wall by others because it's already over here. It's obvious. So that's that detail. And so, yeah, let's go back. Sorry, I'm kind of bouncing all over the board here. I'm going to call this let's just call the outside of our wall perimeter exterior wall. Exterior wall detail, base detail. So everybody should have this girder support at post. It should have this exterior wall base detail. If you have a deck, you'll have a exterior wall at exterior wall base at deck. And let's move on to this other one. So this other one, this is the one that I added for the bump out, and it's going to be a little bit different detail now. So what should I do here? Well, I'm thinking about it. I'm going to edit my girder profile. So I think what I am going to do, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this footing out. I'm going to have to redo what I just did. I'm going to unjoin those elements. I've jerked this footing, this foundation wall back. And I'm going to, I want this profile of my wall above. I'm going to right click this foundation wall and create similar. And I'm going to redo this foundation wall here. So I've drawn this foundation wall again. I'm going to throw a dimension on here to get the distance from the face of the foundation wall, hopefully, to the face of the wall above is 1.25 inches. So I can throw dimensions on here. As you can see, now I can see that it's lined up with the face of the face of stud again. And I'm going to trim there. I'm going to trim this side. I'm going to create similar this footing. The cat is mad at me because I won't let her sit on my lap while I'm trying to work, which I usually do when I'm working, but I usually don't have a microphone in my face. First world problems, right? Alright, so you can see in my 3D view that I drew this foundation wall back. And I'll have to redo the profile. I'm going to clean up some of this stuff right now. So I got rid of this header joist around the deck because what I was worried about is water intrusion. And so I'm getting rid of kind of some of this stuff at the deck because I have this wraparound deck. I want to have the concrete footing, and I believe I talked to some of you about that it's kind of like where we've had to modify the footing at the deck because you don't want basically water to come in contact with all this wood stuff. Now all of those would be pressure treated because there is going to be some moisture, but we just really don't want to have any moisture at all getting into our deck. So during this detailing process, we may have to change it up a bit, but that's okay. Not sure what's going on there. Some weirdness there, but that's okay. We'll fix that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come up here to modify. And I'm going to go to this little paintbrush on the modify tab called match type properties. And I'm going to select the wall that I want all these others to match. And so I can just go around here and click this foundation wall all the way around so that they all match. And what is going on here? This guy, I am not sure. But you know what we could do is just delete this guy. Delete this guy. And then we'll go trim corner and we'll just, did I hit trim corner? I did not. Trim corner. And trim up this one. And then actually we'll have to, and I believe we looked at this when we did this area. So this really is the only area that's going to be like a typical foundation wall. So what I'll do is go to wall joins, select this corner, and then hit next just to have this concrete wall wrap around this way. So you saw before that it's like stopping, so there's kind of this weird corner. If you click this wall join button, you can come up here below and have it toggle through the configuration. And so I just hit next, and I could actually have it miter it if I wanted, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to just have it be a butt joint, and there we go. Alright, so now I kind of went through in the 3D view, which I often like to work, so I can work a lot quicker, a minute most of the time. So, if I go back to my footing details, you can kind of see now that all my footing details have changed. I don't have to go through and modify them because I modified them in the 3D view. And so comparatively, like if you're in CAD, you would have had to go through and update all of these details. But because we're in Revit, all these details updated for me. So I'm going to clean up this area as well. Kind of go back to the way I was before. Let's see. I'm going to turn off this level 1. Trim corner. Actually, I'm going to turn back. So what I was doing is, sorry about that. If I'm being kind of all over the board, doing details often makes me all over the board. So I'm going to fix this interior joists so that I've got some wall under here. I'm going to reset system. Like we saw last time, we might have to do that twice. Yeah, so it looks like it did actually bring the joists up. So now if we go back to that detail where we were at, yeah, so now our little bump out detail will actually be very similar to our typical detail. It's just that it's moved over. So you know what I'm going to do? I don't need this bump out detail anymore, right? Because do you see why? So now it looks like the typical deck because I've changed this footing layout. I jogged this footing where before I just ran it straight. I jog the footing so that they'll have to place this footing like this. And now I don't really need to have this detail through here because it's not going to be any different. So I'm actually going to delete that detail and then delete this detail, which is good to make sure that you're not doubling up on too many details, because you don't need to show the same information in a bunch of different places. And so what's this other detail? Detail 6. Detail 5. Yeah, this detail 5 is going to be the same. Also, so I'm going to kill that detail. So now we've kind of gone through, and some of this you might not know, and I think it's a good exercise that if you make some details, and then I will mark it up and tell you to delete it because you don't need it. That is exactly what happens in the office. It can be frustrating, but as you learn and learn wherever you happen to work, and this applies for any field, you kind of get to know exactly what they want, and then you don't have to redo a lot of stuff because you've now worked for them so long, and you kind of have a pretty good idea of what details they want, and what kind of notations they want on details, and so then you can go all around and not have to redo a lot of work because you've gone through and already done this all many times. So let's get through these details. Stand by. So let's add just a note to this garage slab. Or let's call it per plan. Let's add let's add a hanger here for this girder. So if we go up to annotate, let's edit type because this one is actually we used hold on, let's check. We used a 4x6, so we might be able to find the 4x6 hanger. We'll edit type so we can see what we're looking at. 4x16, that's too big. HB. So it doesn't look like we have one for a 4x6 hanger, but we can just do HB4.6. I don't think this matters. We'll just add the 4x6 here. We'll make it 5.5-inch height. And we'll make it we'll mirror this guy. Going to align to the face of here. It's really bugging me, but that's okay. We can just, since I don't want to waste the time finding the exact members for this exercise, we'll just make it look close enough. We can go up to annotate and then do a region and then select a concrete region. If we don't have one, we can edit, duplicate, and just make it concrete. Change this foreground pattern to concrete. Go to our modify tab and just draw a rectangle around our foundation wall. I'm going to edit type again because I want to make it a masking region so that it will actually mask that little ledge. I'm going to rename it to be concrete. Type out the whole name and bring to front so that it covers up that hanger. And then we'll go to annotate, text. I'm going to change it so the alignment is on the right side. And we'll just call it a girder. I'm going to edit my topographic surface again. So I'm going to take a dimension from here to the bottom of the slab, inch, and at 1 foot 5.5. So I'm just going to select my topography, place a point at 5.5 inches. Negative 5.5 inches. What do I have here? Just adding some points along here. Just to bring that so it looks correct in this view. That's pretty much all we need for that. I'm going to copy this rigid insulation and the vapor barrier so that they both look the same. Move it into place. Let's go to our deck. If you have a deck post, well, to mention this footing out. Going to add the same hanger here. Copy this one over here. I'm going to edit the boundary and reset the system. Oh, it's stopping at the because this beam or this joist is actually stopping at this post. So really the hanger would be at this location. It would be into the side of this post, not onto this beam. If we were to go down to have this section cut through the beam, then we would want the hanger right at the at this beam. But since we're kind of cutting through this footing and this joist is connecting to this this beam or this column, sorry. I'm gonna align this hanger there. I'm just going to change it so this cut looks like wood. So let it grind a bit. And so I edited the floor framing, or the floor entity to have this wood pattern. And so let's do something real quick here. I'm going to edit this family. So select this family, and then I'm going to go to my visibility, visibility graphics. I'm going to turn on all the annotation so I can see how they're controlling this family. And what I'm going to do is delete some of this stuff so that we can at least have our hanger look a little bit more like what it's supposed to look like. So I'm going to edit this profile that's in here. So if you go to this family, you edit it, you can double click or edit the boundary of this this profile. I'm going to trim corner to this, and I'm going to delete all of this upper portion. Oops. I'm going to load it back into our project. And that looks close enough for me. And you can see that the hanger stops right at the, doesn't have that extension over there. That's fine. This extends into there a little bit, and that's okay. So I'm going to leave that alone. What do we call it over here? Joist hanger. I call this post per plan. I call this joist per plan. I'm also going to call this, what do we call it in the other detail? 2x6 pressure treated decking. As you can see, since my alignment was off, it wasn't allowing them to these to line up. You can see it's not snapping because if you select the text and you're up here, you see the alignment is to the right, so you want to make it to the left. Now I can move my text over and it will line up with the ones above. Same thing here, make it left aligned. So I'm going to call this 2x8. since I don't have a wall type for this this kind of wraparound, I'm just going to call this a 1/2 inch. And now, as I'm thinking about it, we can go to our wall types. And I'm going to call out this 1/2 inch. It'll be pressure treated. I don't think it'll be pressure treated. I think it'll be something different. So we'll just call it as 1/2 inch plywood sheathing, similar to the wall type. I think they're going to do something else to it. I'm going to have to look that up. We'll call this the same as our exterior wall, so this 6 inch. I'm going to add another note up here to say reinforced concrete footing, so that they know that there needs to be rebar and whatnot in there. I'm going to go back and add that to this other note. And to this other detail as well. I'm going to add it to the reinforced concrete note to the foundation wall as well, just so that it's obvious that there will need to be rebar and reinforcing in there. I'm going to run a spell check on all of this. Ignore the GSM. Just do some spell checking here. And sorry, one more thing that I've got to do here is I want to have a curb sit in the garage. I want a 6 inch curb so that it sits on this 6 inch curb in the concrete in the garage. So I'm going to go to my framing plan. I'm going to do a wall. I'm going to choose the 8 inch foundation wall. I'm going to edit, duplicate, and call it 6 inch concrete curb. Edit the structure to be 6 inches instead of 8. Hit OK. I don't want it to be depth. Let's see. I be at -1 foot. Unconnected. Yeah. Now I've got my 6-inch concrete curb. I'm going to align it to the face of the stud. And then this wall, what I'm going to do, because you can see that I put the curb in, but now it's inside of this wall. I just want to make sure I'm going to trim this curb to the corners. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my 3D view to see what's happening. So this curb we're going to have to make align with the slope of the concrete slab. You can see it here. I'm going to make this wall. Let's see what I'm going to do here. I'm going to select this curb that I just placed. I'm going to say attach base, and I'm going to pick the concrete slab. So it should attach to that base. I also want the concrete curb to go across the front here. I'm going to turn on the back, the base. Oh yes, I've got the base offset, or the base showing my walls above. I'm going to right click. Create similar. Sorry, I'll make this finish face exterior. And just draw it to the extent of my garage doors. It keeps giving me a notification that it's overlapping those walls, so that's okay. Align this curb. So I'm just going to add another quick section in here so I can see what's going on. Go to view. I'm going to change this to architectural since I was in the structural. I'm going to raise this. So I needed this to be -1 foot. And unconnected. I'm going to attach the base to the slab again on this side. Drag this wall so that it's at the top here. I'm going to go back to my framing plan. Actually, floor plan because I changed that to architectural. Just deleting these sections that I created before. I'm going to trying to get this concrete curb that I placed. Oh no. So this should be -1 foot and unconnected 6 inches. Sorry about this. I'm kind of all over the place this morning. I cut another section here at this wall so I can see what's going on. Going to attach this base of this wall again. Going to trim, extend this curb to this garage. Jam. Got some funkiness over here that I think I messed something up. Yeah, moving walls around, it seems like I messed up the alignment of my walls up here. So I'm going to align. Okay, I think I fixed it up here. So now I've got this curb, 6-inch concrete curb around my garage. And to clean it up, I can go through and join with the slab below. So hopefully you wouldn't see any lines. So let's just detail this last detail. Spent too much time. I'm going to have to edit some of this stuff out. We're not going to dimension it. We're just going to call it out as 6-inch concrete curb. It'll vary because the slab is sloping. So we'll call it 6-inch reinforced. Concrete curb. We'll dimension this thickened slab edge. We'll call this reinforced concrete slab edge, thickened concrete slab edge, and we'll note this as wall per plan. And we'll call this a day. So anyway, that's kind of the process I went through to get my details cleaned up and added some notes to them. But as you can see, I'm going to have to go through and do some more cleaning up because some things got kind of messed up. For your purposes, you don't have to worry about that. I'll mark them up in your drawings and we can kind of work on them together. Yeah, I'll have to go through and fix some of this up, but this has been a long video and kind of sporadic. So my apologies for that. Please let me know if you have any questions, and just hit me an email or come to class prepared with some questions. Anyway, thanks.